Hello everyone. This is the 25th part of the story Game of Thrones, the Prideful one. Chapter 121. We were winning, but I still couldn't allow my men to enter the city. Something was off. Cersei and Joffrey were nowhere to be seen, and that was pretty alarming in the big scheme of things. That woman was a wild card, unpredictable, and if she wasn't nowhere to be seen, it meant she had a plan that might fuck me up somehow. Fine, Cersei, I ordered my ravens. Caw on it. My ravens caught flying off into the city to find the Mad Queen. I had a bad feeling about all this. With Cersei missing, it was almost unavoidable that something was going to go wrong for me, and I didn't like that prospect. So for now, I would keep my army outside the borders, waiting for Cersei to appear. After all, I couldn't afford the luxury to lose any soldiers. Is that woman so important? Neltharion asked. Somewhat, is not so much that she is important, but that she is unpredictable, and in war you can't allow wild cards to roam free, I sighed. I see, what a problematic situation then, Neltharion hissed, going back to burning the army beneath us. Indeed it is. Cersei Lannister point of view. The mountain was destroying the Highgarden soldiers like they were nothing, ants. One by one they were fallen to his enormous and unparalleled strength. Each swing of his massively abnormal longsword resulted in another body on the ground, adding to his uncountable count of victims, and I couldn't help but smile at this sight. After all, taming this mad dog to obey me was probably the best choice I had ever taken. Finish them quickly, you'll have time to torture later, I smiled, imagining Ronald under the mountain's foot. Boring, the mountain grumbled, picking up his pace. Caw! 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 A raven. What is a raven doing here? Well, it didn't matter. Make them. Bob the Raven point of view. I had found the Mad Queen. I had to let the CORNBRINGER know she was on the secret tunnels of the city. She was planning to escape the mighty judgment of the Corn. And I was not going to allow it. The Corn was fair. And the Corn never failed to deliver its mighty and unforgiving punishment. My king! I caught in desperation seeing the CORNBRINGER ahead. Ronald Mormont point of view. My king! A raven shouted, flying at full speed towards me. I slowly turned around to see the raven in question, with a question look. Did you find anything? I inquired. Yes. Caw. The Mad Queen and her mistake are hiding in the secret tunnels on the south part of the city. The raven replied. I smiled at this. My targets were waiting for me, and without even having to tell Neltharion what to do, he was already flying towards the location where we had to go. When we get there, let me handle them. I wanted to deal with the mad duo by myself. Sure. I mean, I completely demolished you in the competition we had earlier, old man. I think I got 3,000, and you got like 60, Neltharion stated proudly. You breathe fire, give me a break, I chuckled. So can you, but in smaller quantities, Neltharion shot back. Fair enough, I laughed. I wanted them to suffer for opposing me. You let them die too quickly. A voice thundered, coming from the tunnels we were heading. If I had to take a guess, it was Joffrey. This made me wonder, is it bad I want to kill somehow I had never seen before? I wanted to see them cry and beg for death, only to suffer more. Joffrey screamed. Well, there I have my answer. It's not wrong if the object of my hate is that little psychopath. How can a mother love that? You know what, forget that, is a very stupid question, considering his mother is Cersei. We don't have time to make our enemies cry, but soon we will, Cersei commented. I had yet to see her, because we were hovering above the tunnels, but that voice had to be hers. I think they are there, Neltharion commented. Yeah, I nodded, pointing to a cliff. Drop me off. Sure, Neltharion did as he was told. I will go and help our army with the rest. Send a raven if you need me to pick you up. Sure, I chuckled, and with that said and done, I was left alone waiting in the exit of the tunnel for my prey. Little by little their voices grew louder and louder. They were coming closer. I was waiting for them, with my sword at hand, though I had to be careful, not because I thought they represented a challenge, oh no, but because I had promised Dorne, the mountain. And if this Cersei was anything like the Cersei I knew from the show, she had recruited that monster to her side. Well, if it isn't the Queen of Nothing, I chuckled seeing the blonde package of madness coming out of the tunnel. You are? Cersei scoffed, another soldier Olenna ordered to die. I want to hear this one scream, Joffrey commented with a gleeful smile. Ah, that ain't gonna happen. I laughed, too bad Olenna couldn't stop you, then again, when I ordered her to do so. I didn't account for the mountain. Ordered? Ronald. Cersei hissed. The one and only. I bowed. You can't find this amount of confidence and style in any other king. He is Ronald. Joffrey screamed, his face slowly going red like blood in anger. I want him death. Kill him. Jesus, the lungs on that boy, I chuckled. Let's see if you keep that bravado for long, Cersei hissed. You will die waiting, I chuckled. Kill him, Cersei ordered the behemoth of a man she had on her side. With pleasure, the mountain smirked. Let's dance. I smiled as I started to walk towards him. Kill him. Joffrey screamed. Chapter 122. The mountain and I started to walk towards each other, our battleground ready for our clash. The area was wide enough for us to fight, but not big enough for Cersei to try and escape. The mountain smirked at me gleefully, throwing off his night cloak to the ground. I will enjoy this. His face was scrunched up in a weird mix of anger and pleasure. There was no doubt he was a really unstable individual. With that troubling expression on his face, he slowly started to draw his long sword from his side. The blade made a hissing whisper that shouted danger as it was removed from the sheath, but for me, it was nothing but another Monday. Kill him. Oh yeah, I had forgotten about Joffrey. Don't hold back or I'm going to break you. I smirked at the Gregor, ignoring Joffrey, tuning out everything that wasn't the mountain. Cocky little shit, the mountain snarled. I shrugged and smiled. As I slowly started to approach him. I have the material to be cocky, can you blame? PFF, the mountain scoffed, swinging his abnormally big longsword at me, but with the same smile I had a few seconds ago. I ducked under his attack, dodging it with ease and giving a wink to the mad duo behind, while admiring the mountain was certainly fast for his size. You bastard. I turned my attention back to the fight. Now, where were we? I chuckled, dodging the next few swings. He was fast, but not enough to even reach me. Is that all you can do, dodge? The mountain snarled. Oh, no, I can do so much more, but I promised Dorne I would bring your sorry ass alive to them. I smirked, so you should feel lucky. I won't go all in on you. A bug going all out, terrifying, Gregor mocked. Please, describe yourself in your free time. I'm not the poor doctor that deals with your sad mental state, I smiled. Oh caw. Damn. Arg. Infuriated, the mountain charged forward, quickly sprinting towards me, rage consuming what little he had of rational thought. Cersei. Joffrey, I said with my smile slowly fading, allow me to show you how terrifying I can truly be. Just when Gregor was about to clash with me, I jumped above him, dodging his mindless charge, kicking him on the forehead with enough strength to push the behemoth back, who in response tried to attack me by swinging his blade, but with single step I found myself in front the raging beast and outside the range of his blade. Don't be a hasty big guy, I winked, trying to infuriate him even more. I will fuck your skull. Gregor roared, throwing a punch. But moving ever so slightly to barely dodge the punch, I grabbed Gregor's wrist as his punch was passing in front of me, and proceeded to throw the bastard up high into the air, to the surprise of everyone, including him who just couldn't grasp what in the seven was going on. I pulled down on his arm, slamming the Gregor head first into the ground, with enough strength to plant his head on the ground, and by result ending the battle. I'll be honest, he didn't live up to the hype, I chuckled, looking at the terrified expressions both Cersei and Joffrey shared. He's probably dead. Oh well, I don't think Oberyn will be too mad. I started to walk up to the mad duo to see Cersei pulling out a knife. Don't you dare getting any closer, filthy animal. A knife? I laughed. That's the equivalent of threatening a dragon with fire. Have some dignity, and drop that toothpick. I am the king. I command you to stop, Joffrey shouted. That doesn't work that way. I deadpanned. I am your better. You are nothing. Joffrey shouted back. If you explain to me, in one sentence, why you love that thing you call a son, I might just let you live, I sighed, looking at Cersei, who simply didn't respond. See? I don't get it either. You won, but you won't get to enjoy any of it," Cersei smirked, lighting a match. Taking a deep breath, I threw my blade at Cersei like a spear, and it stuck into her hand, pushing her several meters back to a wall where the sword was now lodged. The Mad Queen screamed out in pain as her prized son peed himself. "For your information, I'm fireproof, so yeah." I won't," Joffrey muttered in fear, but a bitch slap was more than enough to knock the little bastard down. "Well, that was very anticlimactic," I sighed, as I walked to check if the mountain was really dead. "Do we give the signal?" one of the ravens present asked. "Yes," I nodded. Tywin Lannister point of view 2 hours later. This was a new feeling, total and absolute defeat. Like the commoners said, I backed up the wrong horse on this race. Any minute now someone would get me. I didn't even care anymore. There wasn't anything I could possibly save from my family. Legacy, honor, nothing. My children fucked everything up. So here I was drinking vodka, the drink my enemy manufactured, in the office that was given to me as the hand of the king, waiting for the enemy army to get me. They had entered the city almost 2 hours ago, and if my calculations were right, for the first time since this fucking war started, they would be with me in me moments. "Lord Lannister," Ned Stark said, kicking the doors open. "Lord Stark," I acknowledged, "would you care for a drink?" Ned Stark stared at me for a second, confused. "The city, the kingdom belongs to Ronald now." "Of that painful fact there is no doubt," I nodded. "Is my son alive?" "He is. Ronald wanted to kill him and send you his head, but other plans came up," Ned Stark answered. "I see. It would have been a very clever move," I sighed. "My son is probably my one emotional weakness." That's what Ronald said," Lord Stark nodded. "Where is Oberyn?" I inquired, "from how much he hates me. I expected him to be the one to capture me." "He does, but he has other orders right now," Lord Stark sighed. "Very well," I nodded, putting the vodka bottle and my cup down, a very distinctive drink. "Like everything our king does," Lord Stark approached me. "Yes, that sounds about right," I nodded, dropping my sword. "Lead the way, Lord Stark. I'm sure many want to see me hang. Let's not keep them waiting." Chapter 123. Ah. Cersei screamed and trashed as I carried her, the comatose mountain and the disgusting thing she called son on my back. "Would you please stop? It's just a minor cut in your hand." I sighed. But no matter what I told the soon-to-be death bitch, she was having none of it. Maybe the pain of her wound was too much, or maybe she was having a meltdown. I mean, she did lose everything she ever held dear today. "Should we call Neltharion?" a raven inquired. I pondered over that offer for a second. The walk to the castle was a very long way, and I had 3 people on my back, one of them making the walk less than enjoyable. "All right," I sighed, giving the raven the confirmation he needed to call my dragon son. "You won't get away with this," Cersei hissed with anger. "I think I already did, though. Be my guest, try and stop me," I laughed, much to her annoyance. I still couldn't believe it. This war was finally over. I was now officially the king of the 7 kingdoms. Not that I didn't have that title before, but now I had it without opposition. Then again, Vale had yet to kneel, but they were as threatening as Cocker Spaniel. Essos and Westeros were mine. I still had to conquer some cities in Essos, but with Bravos under my control that would hardly become a nuisance. Now, I have to focus on the wall. Well, at least my attention won't be diverted. I smiled. This victory had a sour taste, because I still had yet to win. "Wake up! And kill him!" Cersei shouted, kicking the mountain. I planted his head on the ground. "I ain't no doctor, but he won't wake up anytime soon," I winked at her, enraging the already furious woman. "Father will." That was new. Cersei was lost for words. "You lost, and it doesn't matter if you deny that fact," I sighed. "Have some dignity, and wait for your sentence." Cersei remained silent for a second, holding her wounded hand. "Will I be judged as a noble?" I knew what she wanted, a trial by combat, and by God that sounded fun. "You want a trial by combat, don't you?" "It's my right," Cersei said with a cold tone, one that carried hope. I smiled. "You can have one, but who among your allies can beat me?" "The king can't participate, for he is the judge," Cersei replied. I didn't know to what extent was that true, but even if it was, she had to know. I had other warriors no one could beat. I could choose a bear, Neltharion, even a lion if I want to make things ironic, then I'll choose my dragon son. Pick your poison, you are dying either way. Ned Stark point of view. The city was in a deplorable state, but we had one. Ronald was finally the one and only king in Westeros. A thought that never would have occurred to me years ago, the same kid I lent money to help him with his house. That kid was now that man I was proud to call my king. Have you heard anything about Ronald? Oberyn inquired. Nothing yet? I shook my head, but you know him, he's probably taking the scenic route here. That is absolutely true, Oberyn laughed, he probably killed the mountain. I haven't seen that bastard. In your condition, it's better to leave that to Ronald, I commented. After all, his injuries from the last fight he had with Jaime would put him in a bad situation against that monster Tywin has, or had. I suppose. Oberyn sighed. Neltharion is coming with the king, a soldier shouted entering the throne room. Well, it seems our king decided to bless us with its presence, Oberyn commented with a smirk. I nodded. Ronald Mormont point of view. It took some time to tie the bitch of Cersei up. After she had realized even without me on the trial she had requested she would still have zero chance of winning, well, let's say her normal crazy is nice compared to the shit beneath that. To summarize my suffering, the bitch bit me as I tied her ass up to Neltharion, and if it wasn't because I wanted her to die in public for everyone to see, she would dead already. My king, Oberyn greeted me with a smile that disappeared as soon as he saw the comatose Gregor Clegane behind. Is he dead? I jumped out of Neltharion's back, landing in front of Oberyn, kind of. I think he is in a coma, but I don't know. In reality the mountain could also be brain death. I mean, is the first time I plant someone on the ground. I have no idea what to expect. Oh well. Oberyn shrugged. And to be honest, that was not the reaction I was expecting. Huh, well, cool. Your Grace, Ned Stark said, extending his arms, to give me a hug? Was this a thing now? Sure, why not? I shrugged, giving the man a short hug. The throne is waiting for you, Lord Stark smiled. Yay, the most uncomfortable chair known to man is waiting for me. I chuckled. You could always put a cushion. Essos is famous for having the best cushions in the known world, Oberyn laughed. Maybe? I was actually thinking something more along the lines of burning that thing off. I shrugged. Thud. What do we do with the other passengers? A soldier asked, pointing to Cersei, Gregor and Joffrey, who Neltharion had thrown off his back. I feel dirty for letting them mount me. Neltharion shuddered. I will go and take a bath. See you later, father. Well, if the mountain wasn't dead already, that surely did the job, I commented. The Iron Throne, the seat of the Lord of the Seven Kingdoms, a piece of metal that is often used as a device to refer to the king's authority. And the image I had of it in my head was different. I was not prepared for the atrocity I was now witnessing. What in the actual fuck is that? I asked. The throne, Ned Stark answered, with a confused expression. Okay, if I wasn't sure of burning this thing before. I am now, I commented, as I slowly walked up to the throne. The Iron Throne was not at all like the HBO version of it. No, the real throne was an asymmetric monstrosity of spikes and jagged edges and twisted metal, and here I was, about to sit in the biggest healthy hazard this world can offer. Here I go, I muttered, taking my rightful place on throne, and I felt powerful. I felt finally at peace because the game was over. I felt pain. Wait, pain? I think I stabbed my arm with one of the blades. Caw, yes, you are bleeding a bit, but nothing bad, a raven commented landing on the throne. I stabbed my feet. Well, who said power didn't come with pain? All hail King Ronald. Ned started a chant that started small, but soon enough was shaking King's Landing itself. Chapter 124. Staring out the window, with a feeling of inner peace I couldn't quite describe, with one single thought clouding my mind. I was the king now. I had finally won the game, with all its ups and downs I had won. But I knew this was just a moment, the calm before the storm. I suppose that applies to me right now, I chuckled, knowing very well I had one more battle to win. But for now, that could wait. Right now I was dying to see my family, to kiss my wife, to hold my kids. But I was scared, and while I didn't let anyone but Neltharion know, thoughts of, what if they didn't remember me? What if they didn't want to be with their old man? That would hurt me more than any sword. My king, Oberyn said as he entered the room, bringing me back to the real world. Oberyn, I greeted with a smile. You must be excited to see your wife. God knows you need some love, Oberyn winked. Remind me again, why are we friends? I inquired with a chuckle. I don't know. But that's a curse you can't cast away, Oberyn laughed. One that is not so bad, Jon chuckled entering the room. Maybe I need to start locking my room. I suppose, I shrugged. My wife and kids will be here in a month. I'll be honest, I'm kinda nervous. Oh, well, they do say a woman is more terrifying than any battle, Oberyn commented, but that's what makes their company even better. Not of Daenerys, I mean, my kids. I can't help but wonder. Forget it, I chuckled. If I may. Ned Stark said entering the room, and yeah. I need to lock my room. Sure, I nodded. I went to war when Robb was 1 year old, and like you I was nervous, but the boy knew I was his father the moment he saw me, so don't worry, Ned smiled, the cubs will know, is in their blood. Thanks, I smiled, that actually made me feel a bit better. So, when can we hear the Lannisters scream in pain? Oberyn asked like a kid would when asking for candy. Disturbing, but understandable. When your queen arrives, she wants to see them hang for what they did to her family, I answered, rolling my eyes at his antics. Well, I guess I can wait, Oberyn pouted. I forgot to mention, but the spider is nowhere to be found, Jon commented. Well, there isn't much he can do, he isn't a priority for me at all, I sighed. And while it was true the spider was my enemy, he was hardly a threat anymore. Well, he never was, but I do wonder, how did he manage to escape, and more importantly, how did he do so without alerting my ravens? Varys the spider point of view. What a waste, in the end my efforts to stop the monster I created were useless. Ronald won, once again I was at the beginning of the chain, but I would rise. And the next time I faced that monster, I would be ready. Caw. A crow, weird, they aren't common around these parts, I muttered wondering if it was someone's pet. After all, crows were very uncommon where I was. Well, I suppose I'm also uncommon here. Caw. Another one. Caw. Another one, 2, 3, 4, 15, no more than that, and they are all staring at me. I better get going. Life is a finite resource. From the moment you are born, you start wasting that valuable gift, some more than others. But you little spider, you fucked up, royally. A crow was talking, as murder of hundreds of crows flew around that single crow that had my attention, the talking one. We are cousins to the ravens, friends of the Cornbringer, protectors of his subjects, and executioners of his enemies, and you, little spider, are his enemy. The murder of crows circled me, flying around me wildly. So this is how he was always on top of everything, I laughed. There wasn't much I could do besides that. Yes, take solace of that, and in the fact, you never had a chance. With that, the murder of crows flew towards me, and with open arms. I welcome death. Peter Baelish point of view. I jumped from being Tywin's prisoner to being Ronald's prisoner. Well, at the very least the brat ought to be easier to manipulate. Littlefinger, that voice, the old fucking wolf was still alive. Lord Stark, what a pleasant surprise, I greeted. It must be for some, but not for you. After all, I do seem to remember you holding my neck with a dagger. Ned growled. I played the game, to the best of my skills, I sighed. You won't escape punishment, Littlefinger. Ronald is too smart for your games, but do try. I would love to see you fail, and with that Lord Stark left. He had changed quite a bit. Well, I still have Lisa, she will save me, I smiled. After all, if Ronald wanted the Vale to kneel he would need me. Daenerys point of view. Ronald won. He promised me one day I would go back to Westeros as its queen, and he had once again delivered, keeping his word. But even though that single thing had been the purpose for as long as I can remember, that wasn't the reason that made me want to go across the sea. It was him. I wanted to be by my husband's side. I wanted to kiss him, to make love to him, to hold him and never let him go. I missed him more than I wanted that stupid throne, and I was finally reuniting with him. My family would soon be whole again. I need a new dress. He won't check that. Daisy chuckled. He will probably break the dress away. I mean, the king hasn't been with his wife for a long time. She winked at me. I know. I'm expecting that and more, if not. I'll break his armor myself, I laughed. These little moments where titles didn't quite matter made me feel at peace. Daisy and Miss Andy were my best friends after all. A queen gets what a queen wants. Ronald's words, huh? Daisy laughed. The prince and princess will be overjoyed of seeing their father, Miss Andy commented with a smile. They keep asking about him. They are going to love him. I smiled. Daisy nodded. Crow Mormont Ravenicus point of view. I was going to see father again. I had so much to do, my puns. I had to improve them, I had to make him laugh. To the pun cave. I hate you. Regal shouted. Chapter 125. 1 month later point of view. The aftermath of the war was as expected a logical nightmare. The people of King's Landing were starving, and the damage I had inflicted on the city was substantial. It would take me an enormous amount of money to fix just that, and I still had thousands of other problems, like the sewage situation that made living in this city the biggest challenge of my life. Then again, I was the king now. I could always change the capital to another place, leaving this shithole, for other purposes, but in the end, that would only be me avoiding the problem. I really need to find a way of dealing with the smell, I muttered. As of now it was taking an enormous amount of will to not puke. Well, you can, but it will cost you quite a bit of gold, Oberyn chuckled. I own Bravos. I don't think that's a problem. Time was the problem. No solution would be immediate. It would probably take years for anyone to do whatever they have to do to fix this shit. Oh yeah, I forgot. Oberyn rolled his eyes at me. I could always force you to fix it, I smirked. Alright, I'm sorry, Oberyn chuckled. Excited for the execution? I inquired. More than you could possibly imagine, Oberyn nodded. Daenerys should be arriving any day now, I stated. She was the reason the Lannisters were still alive. She, like the Martells, had some internal demons to kill, and the execution would give them that. Well, I'll go bother Tywin. Seeing him in a cage really puts a smile on my face, Oberyn smiled. Don't kill him. I warned. I know. I'll be nice. Oberyn chuckled, walking away. That man was both annoying and friendly, and the worst part was that the bastard was probably my best friend. Well, I guess it is time to see how the little finger is doing. I have been ignoring meeting with him since Ned informed me he was in one of my cells in the dungeon. As I walked to the dungeon beneath the castle, the screams of anger that Joffrey was emitting filled the air, demanding someone to let him go, because he was the king, blah blah blah, annoying little piece of shit. Maybe I can bitch slap him again, that is always a good choice. Let me go. I demand to be set free. You really make it easy to hate you, I sighed, walking by his cell, and apparently my presence was more than enough to shut him up, fear overwhelming his madness. Joffrey struggled to form a coherent sentence now that I was here. It seems you do have a brain, intriguing, I chuckled, passing through his cell. I continued on walking, until I eventually reached Peter's cell. He was sitting on a corner, with a sour expression on his face. Was it fear? Anger? Or something entirely different? I was both curious and indifferent. But then again, I was here, wasting time perhaps, but seeing what this little bastard wanted. Hello there, I greeted him. Immediately at the sound of my voice, Peter turned around and bowed. You must be Ronald, a pleasure to you. Sorry I can't offer you anything, but as your grace can see, I'm lacking stuff. Well, you were in prison, I said. I do see that, but it's a crime to have me here, you see. I haven't done anything against you. I know Lord Stark and I have our problems, but I assure you, I would never do anything against you, Peter said, or rather lied. Little did he know I knew about his dealings to kill me. Oh, so it must have been another Peter that told old man Fry to kill me. Would you be so kind to point me to that Peter? So that I can burn him alive, I smiled. I was working with the Lannisters. It wasn't my idea, Peter lied in his defense. No, it was all you. don't think you can lie to me. I bested betters on this little game, so stop it, I said with dangerously low tone, letting him know nothing he said would change my mind. Why, you need me to get the people of Vale on your side, Peter said with small smile of triumph. Without Vale, you only have 6 out of the 7 kingdoms. I looked at him for a second, before I bursted in a fit of laugh. Why, you think that, haha, oh dear. Why, you think that I need you to get Vale on the line? Ha 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 ha. If you kill me, Lisa Aaron won't bend the knee, Peter added. Not that I need her, she killed her husband, all because you told her, I chuckled, and if Vale doesn't believe that, well, I can always burn that mountain down, and start a new house. Don't cloud your thoughts with sentiments of greatness, Littlefinger, Vale, and you are nothing to me, your mere presence, the sound of you breathing, offends me, and whether you like it or not, you will die, so enjoy the rest of your life. As limited as it is. Fear, despair, and understanding of his situation shocked Peter Baelish all at once, destroying any hopes the man had for survival. He knew nothing would save him now. He had overplayed his hand, not realizing the game had ended a long time ago, with Ronald as its winner. Olenna Tyrell point of view. Ronald Mormont, the first of his name, too bad I didn't see his potential a long time ago. Marjorie would be queen if I did, but oh well. I suppose I can settle for surviving all this ordeal. Not many people can live through 2 wars and tell the tale, and I can always marry Marjorie's to the new Lord of House Targaryen. She did seem to think the Northern Dragon Wolf boy to be attractive. Mother. My son, poor idiot, waking up. Not knowing what happened, a shame he got the brains of his dad. It's all right. I fixed our situation, now sleep, I soothed the poor idiot. This marks the end of part 25 of the story Game of Thrones, The Prideful One. Thank you for listening. Please like the video and hit the subscribe button to listen more. Hit the bell icon to get notified of all the new content uploaded to the channel ASAP.